So while yes, that was about reading, it was also about
Dividing.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. I would like you to go back to your seats and make sure you have your blocks on one side and your whiteboard on the other side. That's what we're going to do next. So you can find out. Alright, I told you, what were we going to do a second time? Yeah, we're going to read it again, but this time, every time we get to one of Joe's lines, so every time we talk about the lines, you're going to show me what that could look like. So what would his lines look like? So those blocks are representing what? Bugs. Instead of giving you real bugs, I thought I'd be nice and give you blocks. You're so welcome. Okay, the reason you have the board next to you is so you can put your blocks, oh, can't you be up? The reason that you have the board next to you is so when you put the blocks out, you can put them on the board, and then you're going to write a division problem that goes along with your picture. Okay, and then we're going to go over it together and we're going to write them up here. Deal?
Deal.
Alright, so I'm going to start at the beginning, and I will stop when it's time for you guys to do something. Okay? So the story of Joe might just well explain what happens to numbers when they must remain. After division and they're left behind as lonesome remainders, it seems so unkind. Down by an orchard of young apple trees, the sunshine felt hot, about 90 degrees. So insects all scurried for any cool shade, from mushroom or leaf, they watched a parade. The 25th Squadron marched past the bug crowd, bound and determined to make their queen proud. The troops had divided by 2 for the show. Each bug had a partner except Soldier Joe. So how many bugs do we have? Jasmine? We have 25. And how many rows are they in? How many rows are they in? 2. Can you show that? So now's when I stop and you're going to show me, using your block, can you show me 25 bugs in 2 lines? See where you get? You are showing me 25 bugs in 2 lines.
How much bugs?
25. Good so far. You're finding a problem? Now I would like you to write an equation or a math problem that shows what you just put on your board. Andrew looks awesome. Looks like I have 4 rows. I just want 2 rows. I just want 2 rows. And there should be 25 bugs total. You only have 16. So what do we have to do? Add them to the line. That's 17. 18 now, write a math problem on your board that shows what you just did. Remember, our book is called A Remainder of One. Now write a problem on your board. What problem are you showing? Okay, how many do we have? How many bugs? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. We have 16 bugs. So we still need some more, right? Okay. Kiana, no need. Oh, Robert says, I have come up with a problem. He's run into a problem. Robert have possibly run into? What problem could he possibly have run into? Robert, what problem did you run into?
There's a person named Joe that's making the line uneven.
Okay, how many of you have a problem? You've got Joe hanging out in the back.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, that's a problem. Why is that a problem? Because how many total bugs do we have? We have how many total bugs?
25.
We have 25 total bugs.
You can't do it.
Are we multiplying?
No.
No. What are we doing, Michaela?
Dividing.
We're dividing. We're putting them into groups, so we're dividing. Well, what are we dividing by? How many rows do I have?
2.
I have 2 rows. Hold on. So far, this is what our math problem should look like on our board. Now, how many times does 2 go inside 25? Or how many are in each row?
12.
How many?
12.
12. Okay. I've got 2 full rows with 12 in it.
12 and a half.
I've got 2 full rows
With 12.
with 12 in it. But the problem is, Robert said Joe's hanging out in the back.
12 and a half.
So what's my answer? 12 and a half isn't an answer.
12.
What's our leftover?
1.
So we do something like this.
24.
12 R 1. Why R 1, Keyshawn?
Remainder.
That R stands for remainder. So that R stands for remainder. That means we have 12 in each line, but we have 1 left over. And that 1 that's left over is Joe. Okay, so far, we haven't solved the problem. Here's what I'd like you to do. Erase the marker. Leave your blocks where they're at. Just erase the problem that you had on your board. I'm going to continue reading. The queen wasn't pleased. We're unhappy to find that 1 soldier's left at the end of the line. A honeybee hovered above Lone Joe's head. The queen likes things tidy, the bee sternly said. I'm sorry, Private, said Joe's Sergeant Stephen. You must stand aside, so the troop will be even. The 2 lines of 12 then marched neatly away, while Bug Soldier Joe had no choice but to stay. Lone Soldier Joe learned it wasn't much fun to find himself labeled remainder of 1. The brainy Bug Soldier stayed up the whole night. Perhaps 1 more line would make everything right. So all 25 marched past the bug crowd, nervously hoping they'd make their queen proud. The troop had divided by 3 for the show. Each line seemed perfect. Then someone spied Joe. So this time, how many lines do we have? 3. And how many bugs do we have to use? How many? 25. So you shouldn't add any more bugs. You just need to rearrange what's on your board into 3 lines. And then write a math problem that shows your drawing. Looks good. If you've got 25 on your board, you don't need any more out. You just need to rearrange them. Okay, what problem do we have? So how many bugs? How many total bugs? 20, how many? 20. Yeah, 25. How many rows did you put them in? Okay. How many do you have in each row? You're doing a great job. Nice job. Drop the block. There you go. Soldier down.
I got it. We lost another one. Mom, keep on losing soldiers, Robert.
Give you about another minute. Make sure you have a math problem on your board also. Keep your hand down if you're good to go. I can see that you're ready. Do you have 25 out? I know. It matches this. No, you can do it. Let's talk about it. How many bugs do we still have? We still have how many, Dominic? We've still got 25. How many rows do we have this time? Andrew?
3.
We have 3. How many are in each row? Travis?
8.
There are 8. Do I have, is Joe in there? Does Joe count as in that 8 line? No? Where's Joe? Brayden. He's tagging along, so that means that we have a remainder of 1. So we still haven't figured it out. Would you like to know how to check your answer? Earlier Jasmine said, well, we can just multiply it and check for this answer. Right, Jasmine, you remember that? Okay, so Jasmine, what is 12 times 2?
12 times 2 is 24.
24. So we're not at 25 yet, but what's 24 plus our remainder?
25.
25. That's how we got that answer. Lexi, let's check this one. What's 8 times 3? 24. What's 24 plus our remainder? 25. All right, I think we're ready to move on. Maybe Joe will get it this time.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Not.
We'll see.
Buddy won't.
The Regal head shook. It's disturbing to find one oddball bug at the end of the line. A slender mosquito loomed over Joe's head. Too bad you're a misfit, the pest sharply said. I'm sorry, Private, said Joe Sergeant Stephen. If you stand aside, then the troop will look even. The 3 lines of 8 all marched neatly away, while sad and disheartened, poor Joe had to stay. So then he thought about it, and he thinks he solved it. The 25th Squadron marched past the bug crowd, anxiously longing to make their queen proud. The troop had divided by 4 for the show. The lines all looked even till they spotted Joe. So now how many lines do we have?
4.
Okay, let's see if this fixed the
I
problem.
have a question. Isn't the lead of it in there? You turn it back, isn't it? Why wouldn't he
This
just
is
go?
his sergeant. His sergeant is saying, hey, you gotta wait.
Yeah, but why wouldn't he just go up in the front and lead them, and then it would be even?
Because it wouldn't be even, it would look like this.
Yeah, but
See?
isn't the sergeant supposed to lead?
No, well, technically, but in this book, the sergeant hangs out in the back to make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to.
Jasmine. Because the queen bee wants everything to be even.
Yep.
It's a queen. She's a queen. What's this? Wait, it's not a queen bee. What are you? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was in Ladybug.
No, you have 4 rows, right?
I got this one. Sean. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Now how many are in each row?
That was legit. Yeah, it was.
Thank you to those who are working so quietly. Andrew, fantastic. Nice.
Can't you just take the one that we did? And this one, I have that the same because it's 4 down, like that, it's 4 down, or is that not row? No, that's
That,
row.
yep.
This one I got.
Aiden?
You know, I would have got like in the middle, and like that person that was like back at the end, she would have told him to get out of the line
All right, let's talk about it.
instead of.
How many soldiers do we still have?
25.
All right. So we still have 25. Now, how many rows do we have?
4.
4.
4 rows of
How many soldiers are in each row this time? 6. Does that count Joe?
No.
So he's still not fitting in.
Nope, he's the only
He's
one
our
only one in the back.
remainder 1.
Come on.
Man, poor Joe.
So he's technically the lone ranger.
Yes, he is the Lone Ranger. Our Highness pointed, we're angry to find a tag-along bug at the end of the line.
Sorry, Your Highness.
A shy dragonfly fluttered over Joe's head. Now don't get discouraged, the fly softly said. I'm sorry, Private, said Joe's Sergeant Stephen. You must stand aside, then the troop will be even. As 4 lines of 6 marched so neatly away, sad Joe couldn't watch, for he had to stay. The 25th Squadron marched past the proud queen, the neatest, best troopers that she'd ever seen. 5 lines of soldiers with 5 in each row, perfect at last, and that's counting Joe. So can you show me the next line? This time we've got 5 lines.
Let the red one be Joe. Me and her made up movies.
Remember that you need an equation after you're done with your drawing.
Wait, no, green because it's happening.
Just wondering. No more.
Alright, let's talk about it. How many soldiers do we still have?
25.
Okay, so that's never changed. How many rows do we have? Yeah, how many rows?
5.
We have 5 rows. How many soldiers are in each row? Aubrey?
5.
5. Is that counting Joe?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. No. Because 5 times 5 is 25.
Yeah, and there's
Yes,
supposed to be,
it's
and there's
counting
25 soldiers.
But Joe's
Yeah.
not in there because it doesn't show the extra line. But it's 25.
Yeah.
It's 25.
Joe's not in there.
No. I love this. This is great discussion. This is great discussion. Let's take a look back at the first one. If we had 25 soldiers total, did that 25 soldiers total include Joe?
No. Yes.
No.
There's your solution.
Yes, it did.
For those of you that aren't paying attention, I'd love it if you would. When we started the book, we started with 25 total soldiers. Was Joe included in that 25?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
So.
Joe was included, and then we split up into 2 rows, but Michaela, we could only put 12 in each row. Joe was hanging out. He was still one of those 25, but he wasn't in the lines evenly. Next time we split into 3 rows, then we had 8 soldiers in each line. Joe was still hanging out. He wasn't in there evenly, but he was still one of those 25. So, let's go back to this. We don't have a remainder. We've got 5 even rows of, how many? 5. We have 5 even rows of 5. And 5 times 5 is
25.
25. So that's how we know that it went in evenly. We don't have a remainder anymore. Joe finally fits in. He's in that 5th row in the back.